Terrific. I do see us on our YouTube channel. It does look like we're also live on Facebook. So we will give everyone just a few minutes to hop on before we really kick this off. All right, well, let's go ahead and get this started and kicked off as everyone starts hopping onto the broadcast with us. Whether you are watching this in the morning, afternoon, evening, on your weekend, we do appreciate you for tuning in to our live broadcasts. I am pleased to always host these. I am Juliette Abdel, President, Westminster Chamber of Commerce President and CEO, and I always have an opportunity tonight not only highlight some of our elected officials, some individuals in our community that are making a difference, whether it's in our nonprofit sector or other business owners that are maybe starting up or getting going, all the way to those that are serving us, whether it's at city, county, state, or federal level, as in the administration, elected, and more. Today, of course, is part 2 of our conversation that we started last week. But before we really get started and go into detail on this, I want to welcome you all back to our broadcast. You can find all of these in the video section here on our Facebook or YouTube channel, Westminster Chamber of Commerce. You can binge watch them all at once. You can ask us questions. If there was a video that you were really interested in, you loved, and you want us to bring back, give us that hashtag replay and let us know so that we can follow along and see which of that information, which of the resources you most found of value. Now, we are on everything social. So if you are not already engaged with us, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter at Westy Chamber. We're also on LinkedIn, Westminster Chamber of Commerce, and our website is westminsterchamber.biz. So that is my spiel to you. Make sure that you are following the pages, that you subscribe to the alerts so that you can get updated when we go live. Along the way, as we are providing you this information and going over a lot of these talking points, it's natural for you to have comments or questions. Use the chat section to direct those at us. If you have comments, we'll be able to pull them onto the screen and give you some recognition for being on here with us. Of course, if you have questions, then we can really hone in on those and allow our experts to be able to share a little bit more from their perspective on them. Now, I know you've met them already last week, but I want to reintroduce them for those of you that may not have, or if you've slept since then, which is very common, hopefully you have. Then I'll turn this over to both Caitlin and Lee to just kind of share a little bit about themselves, their title, and then we'll move into our program.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having us. We're really excited to be here. My name is Caitlin McKinney, and I am the Talent Pipeline Analyst. It's a shared role between the Workforce Development Council in Colorado, as well as higher ed.
And hello, everyone. I'm Lee Wheeler-Berliner. I'm the Managing Director for the Colorado Workforce Development Council. And our vision is that every employer throughout the state of Colorado has access to a talented workforce, and that every Coloradan has the opportunity for meaningful employment, resulting in individual and statewide economic prosperity. So it's great to be with you all again to dig into our Talent Pipeline Report and what it means both for our state and more specifically for you as employers.
Well, so excited to have you both. And Lee, I cannot imagine trying to say your name really fast a couple of times. It's a tongue twister for sure, but a lot of work that you both are doing. So very grateful that you are carving out this time to be here with us. So last week, we really gave the ins and outs of the 2021 pipeline report. We even highlighted some of the content that was shared in this report. And today, what we thought we would do for our audience and our viewers, of course, is to talk more broadly about some of the key items that were in this and maybe some of the more unique labor force trends the data has shown you both over the course of 2021. Is there something unique that you want to highlight out of the data set?
So we've seen a lot of pretty interesting trends that the data has shown us through our lens this year. One thing that's pretty interesting that we highlight in the report showcases that employment levels of Coloradans that identify as living with a disability have surpassed pre-pandemic levels and reached historic highs in recent months. So this cohort's labor force participation rate is totaling about 40% in October, or as of October, which is the highest recording since the Bureau of Labor Statistics began recording employment numbers in 2008. And this is a boost of about 10.5% relative to the same time last year and holds a magnitude significantly higher than the year-over-year increase across the non-disabled workforce, who only saw an uptick of about 0.5% when comparing the periods. We also saw equity gaps in the labor market that have lingered throughout last year in the state. Equity gaps across demographic groups were significant issues in Colorado prior to the pandemic, which is something that is very important to highlight as well. And once the pandemic did set in, these have been further accelerated. So from September 2020 to August 2021, Hispanic and or Latinx individuals have the highest labor force participation rate, totaling at about 71%, followed by Black or African American individuals at roughly 67.5%, and white individuals about 61.5%. And so relative to previous years, keeping this in mind, one of the biggest drops that we've seen have been from the women's labor force participation rate in Colorado. And although the share of women in Colorado's labor force has been increasing since 1970, impacts brought on by the pandemic caused women's labor force participation rate to be lower than usual. So in October of 2020, we saw the lowest participation rate for women in 34 years in the state. And this is particularly true for women that are identifying as Black or African American, with a labor force participation rate totaling about 47%.
Yeah. So those were some really notable things to highlight, Caitlin. And I want to unpack some of this, if that's okay. When we reference and talk about kind of individuals living with disability and surpassing pre-pandemic levels in the labor market, what does that look like for employers? Are they making more accommodations? Are they being more flexible? I guess what would be the reason that they would be offering more employment for those that are disabled now as opposed to before the pandemic?
So, Juliet, one component that we see is for many years, we've talked about individuals with disabilities as being an untapped labor pool. And so when we think about the tightening of our labor force that has taken place as we've emerged out of the impacts of the pandemic, we need to find people. And so employers have been more open to talking with individuals with disabilities than they may have been in the past, simply because they need to find folks who are capable of doing the job. At the same time, within the state of Colorado, there has been an intentional effort on the concept of employment first for people with disabilities. For a lot of folks who have an intellectual or developmental disability, especially, there's this narrative that they're not capable of working. And this is something that a lot of folks have been working against over the last several years to help individuals understand that employment can and should be their first option and first opportunity. Because when we talk about someone needing an accommodation, it's easy to hear that word and think, oh no, that's way too much money. That's way too much work. I'm going to have to change everything about my place of business. And that's often not the case. And so there are resources available through the state. The Division of Vocational Rehabilitation is specifically set up and funded to work with an employer to help you understand how to set up an accommodation for an individual so that they can be a very productive part of your team and can help enhance who you are as an employer. And so I think it's those combining factors that have really created these positive results in our state.
I think it's an excellent trend to be moving toward, and I love that there is all of this support and this kind of this ecosystem that's there to support and empower those business owners to be able to hire those people. They may have wanted to in the past and didn't know the best way to go about it, or have that support. So it is a huge combination from public and private sector to get that done. Love that. One last thing I'll ask, kind of on some of this information that's shared, and before I do, I just wanted to pull up. We have Parker Brown with us, giving us a quick good morning note. Thank you, Parker, for tuning into our broadcast today. He is a business owner in our area. Hope he finds this of value as many others that hop on with us. Now, we also had Caitlin touch on equity and even women in the workforce and this decline in workforce or labor market participation as a result of the pandemic. And can we take a step back? And I know we said this last week, but I want for anyone that is new to the broadcast, new to the topic, to understand, are these self-identified? So have women self-identified? Yes, I did leave the market as a result of COVID. Was this, did we break that down a little bit further, or was it more of assessing maybe some of the positions that they naturally would have held and the vacancies that are now in there?
Go
for it, Caitlin. I'll let you.
So I'm sorry, Juliet, you were breaking up a little bit right there. But so for this type of data, yes, these are individuals who identify basically from we use from the Labor Market Information Office. It's housed at the Department of Labor and Employment in Colorado. We utilize their data, and which is taken from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And what is centrally, what we really rely on is the American Community Survey, which is an annual survey that basically, asks individuals about all types of demographics, income, employment status, and things like that. So that's how we basically keep track of all of that data.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Sorry for the internet snafus on this end. We'll do our best to produce this clearly for you all. So the Talent Pipeline Report, as we are quickly all learning, is a great resource that provides a lot of information and even our ability to have many initiatives and projects that are going on currently in our state to kind of take on. Can you tell listeners kind of an example of how the state has utilized this report content in making some of those data-driven decisions?
I'm happy to jump in here, and then Caitlin, I'll let you add to it. So each and every year at a high level, the Talent Pipeline Report informs the ongoing work and the projects that are taking place within the Workforce Development Council, within the Department of Labor and Employment, and within the Department of Higher Education as well. There are many other state agency partners who engage with us in developing this report and then use it to guide how they function in terms of what they prioritize, what type of programming they look at. One example is the development of career pathways. From the state perspective, the council has a team that works with the community college system to analyze and map career pathways in in-demand industries each and every year. And we use the Talent Pipeline Report to indicate which industries are going to be most meaningful for us to map. We don't want to spend a lot of time and resources mapping out career pathways and developing programs in those areas where there's not a lot of immediate demand or expected growth. And so we're using that top jobs list to then inform what career pathways we want to set up and enhance in education and training. Caitlin, can you say a little bit more about the top jobs and how that's fed into some of the degree programs within CDHE?
Sure. So every year we rank our top jobs, and basically we touched on this last week, but so you may remember from last week's broadcast, but each year the report uses labor market projections from the Office of Labor Market Information, housed at CDLE, to identify top jobs in the state that meet specific criteria thresholds that relate to demand, growth rate projections, and livable wages, given the economic climate. And in particular, one specific example that we can showcase from the 2021 top jobs data is that, so the Department of Higher Education utilized this data to target conversations with institutional partners on ways that they are helping get more students to and through those high demand, high need, high pay fields. And specifically, CDHE's Finish What You Started project, which is basically a 2-year pilot program that's housed at CDHE. And it provides wraparound support services for low-income Coloradans in order for them to attain college credentials or degrees. And so CDHE heavily relied on this data and the educational attainment discussions and data visualizations in this year's report to kind of construct these pathways to getting this done.
Yeah. So many great benefits to be able to using this data to not only inform these decisions, but to come up with some pretty great programs, honestly, to support our current workforce needs and even future. Now, one of the other areas that we have seen that this data has also been used has been to encourage stimulus activities in Colorado. Can we define those a little bit more and maybe highlight some of a great example of what that turned into?
So one of the best examples of how the report and the data has translated into action took place in the 2021 legislative session, when we worked to get House Bill 21-1264 passed, which created several avenues for reskilling and upskilling the existing workforce. This bill took advantage of the state and local fiscal recovery fund dollars that came into Colorado under the American Rescue Plan, and it allocated $75 million out to the state in a few different ways. We had $5 million that is going into our adult basic education programs. We have far too many adults who have reached the age of 18 and beyond and don't have a high school equivalency or some of those basic skills related to that. And so there's great programs available to help people attain that high school equivalency or pursue English language learning if English is not your native language. And so there was some money routed that direction. The next $10 million went to the Career and Technical Education Program, which is housed within the state's community college system, which has a presence at the secondary level within high school districts throughout the state of Colorado, and also the post-secondary level with Front Range Community College as an example. And so there was $10 million specifically for some facilities and equipment to ensure that as we're conducting technical education for individuals, they're learning on the most relevant and newest equipment that is actually going to be utilized in the workplace. The biggest group of funds from this bill came to the Colorado Workforce Development Council, and we are working with our network of local workforce boards, which for the Westminster area, you have the Adams County Workforce Board, as well as the Broomfield Workforce Center a little bit, who can feed in and support some of your work. They've all received additional influx of dollars specifically to support individuals to obtain an industry recognized credential. They can also directly support a business that was negatively impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic and can work with you as an employer to upskill your existing staff to ensure that they are able to utilize the latest technology and to continue to be effective for you as an employer as you seek efficiencies perhaps in your business model. So a lot of exciting dollars out the door. I do want to mention that we also have the ability to conduct some statewide initiatives. And just this week, we have released some new opportunities for trade associations to apply for funding to support a specific training program that you developed for your industry, or if you want to develop a new program for your industry. That's a live opportunity that is available now, open through the end of March for groups to apply for those funds.
That is terrific. Have we seen, I know that this current one that's live just came out, the programs that were before where we can leverage some of our workforce centers to upskill employees on those different, not only with technology and other things that they might need. Have we seen the specific demand that's been there? Has it been used, or are these programs that are there and available and we need to continue to spread the word on because people are still unaware of them?
We definitely need to continue to spread the word. And I think what is great about these funds is there's flexibility to either directly support the individual. So for that job seeker who knocks on the door and says, yes, I want to get some more training, I want to pursue a credential, please assist me with this. There's funds there. And for the employers, that's a place where there's opportunity and space to grow. And so if your business was negatively impacted by the pandemic, connect with the Adams County Workforce Center, let them know you're seeking some financial support to help train your existing staff, or maybe you're trying to hire. And if you're one of those companies who's had the help wanted sign out for a while and you haven't made the hires because the people who do knock on your doors don't have the existing skills that you need on day 1 or 2, then connect with the Workforce Center, because once you brought that person on board, funds can immediately be used to pay for some of the training that they may need.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think that's terrific. And we'll continue our part in sharing out the message and letting them know about all the workforce centers that are available, Adams, Jeffco, and others that directly serve our community. So I think that's terrific. So when we talk about alignment with this talent pipeline report, what are some of the main impacts it has had here in the state of Colorado to date?
So one of the central themes that the TPR covers is the importance of expanding education across the workforce. Mm-hmm. And as a result of the pandemic, Serve Colorado and Colorado Youth for Change partner with us to receive 2021 funding to create the Colorado Tutoring Corps initiative, which is expanding their tutoring and student support programs in the workforce and educational turmoil that was created by COVID-19. Mm-hmm. And the Tutoring Corps initiative will place 470 AmeriCorps members in communities across the state in Colorado to provide evidence-based math and reading tutoring interventions to children that are in pre-K through 8th grade, and provide student and family engagement interventions to high school students. Mm-hmm. So this program expects to get to basically serve 10,000 students over 26 school districts between 2021 and 2022 school year.
Wow, that is an ambitious service, and I do feel like it will be met though with the demands in our schools for sure. Branching from the TPR, what are some of those resources that some of our businesses should be aware of that they can engage and maybe continue to find that talent that they're needing?
Juliet, thank you for this question. One of the things that I really want all your members to take away from these conversations that we've had the pleasure of having with you is that first and foremost, state agencies want to see a thriving Colorado. And we want to see a state where everyone has access to economic prosperity. And we deeply understand and know that government needs to get out of the way. We need to provide the support that is necessary to set up the right structures to enhance your ability to function and do business and attract talent and retain that talent. And then after that, let's get out of the way as much as we can. So to that end, there are a wide array of publicly funded programs, again, available through our workforce centers, as well as through other partners of the Talent Found Network, explicitly designed to help businesses find talent, to help you screen talent, to cover the cost of training for people that you have on board, and to promote job retention as well. The stimulus dollars are one of those great features we have at this particular point in time. And so those funds are available and will continue to be available through most of 2023 as well. And at the same time, don't wait. If you know you have a resource, if you want to get some support, reach out as soon as you can to get connected to those resources. We have that focus on reskilling, upskilling, and next skilling workers because we want every individual to be able to be relevant in the labor force and so that your businesses can continue to grow. Mm-hmm. Some of the tangible steps and ways that looks includes on-the-job training and incumbent worker training. So again, if you're struggling to find people who are qualified and have every single skill that you need in your workplace right on day one, then you can work with the publicly funded centers to get support for on-the-job training. In some ways, we can set up an on-the-job training program where you're kind of trying before you buy with an employee. So if you're not sure you're committed to that person, if you want to make sure they're going to be able to be a match for what you need, then through an on-the-job training program, you can get costs covered for a short period of time while that training is being developed, and then make the decision as to whether or not they're going to be able to continue to add value for you. Another component is support in expanding the diversity of your labor force through skills-based hiring. And in a lot of different industries, you put that job description together and the idea of a minimum requirement of a 4-year degree shows up on that job description. And sometimes if you stop and ask yourself, why am I requiring this? If you look at your current workers and you say, who are the best workers who do this job currently? Do they all have that 4-year degree? And if not, why are you requiring it of your newest folks? And so shifting your hiring model to a skills-based approach, which is really drilling down to specifics that are needed to be successful, not using a degree as a proxy. And it's not just about a job posting. There's actually different dynamics of the interview process and then onboarding as well. It can really expand new populations to attract them to your company and to get you people who are best qualified for really what you're looking for. And so there is training that is available at no cost through the workforce centers for how your team can engage in skills-based hiring, how you can go about conducting that and being promoted within that.
Yeah.
Additionally, there's some new resources available to help you think about equity within your workforce and to think about job quality. One of the differentiators that a company can make right now to attract talent is to ensure that you are offering a high quality job. And we know that when we think about what is a good job or a bad job, the world is not that black and white. And so we don't believe that there's a fully bad job out there or a fully good job out there. We do believe that there are aspects of a quality job that can make a difference in attracting somebody, their engagement while on the job, and ultimately their retention as well. And so in the fall of 2021, our team put out a job quality framework, which talks about the different components that really contribute to how well someone, how great they believe a job is. And that includes pay, definitely, but it also includes the overall benefits. It includes scheduling, consistency, and knowledge about a schedule in which you're being asked to work. It includes safety and wellness. And does someone have the belief that they will walk away from a job and walk away from an office or workplace as healthy as they came into it that morning? And so these things are important. And we have resources available to help companies track this because a lot of these points are quantifiable. And right now, we still have some spots available for companies to join a pilot to get access to a data set that can really inform you and show you where you rank in your industry and in your community on some job quality metrics. And then also can help you think about how you create more equity within your own workforce. And are you promoting people of all backgrounds at a similar rate? And are you truly attacking implicit bias in your processes in ways that will ensure you're attracting talent and you can retain folks in the best way possible? One other thing I'll mention is the Skill Advance program, which is a grant program offered through the community college system in partnership with the Office of Economic Development and International Trade that is really designed to get funding to growing businesses who need to do some retraining in a broader base. So if it's not just one or two individuals, if there's a large group of employees you want to provide some more training for, that Skill Advance program can be a great opportunity for you.
Yeah, so many great programs. Thank you so much for going in detail thoroughly on them. I did have one of our viewers was sharing that there was some cutting in and out. I don't know which one of us three was the one that was causing that. So here's what we will tell you is that a manuscript of some of the comments that we were sharing will be typed into the chat section at a later point. So once we are no longer live, we'll get some of this information typed out for you in the comment section. So you're able to see that information, able to access it, and can kind of go back and review in the off chance that there are some parts of this video that are cut out or there's some issues with internet, you're still able to get the information that we put out there for you. So I did want to recognize, thank you for that, Parker, for letting me know. I thank you, Joe, for also tuning into the broadcast with us this morning. I don't have any additional questions, believe it or not, to pepper your way. Caitlin, were there any last remarks that you wanted to share before we start closing this broadcast out?
Just thank you so much, Julia. This is a lot of fun. Thank you.
Of course. Well, we sure appreciate having you and Lee both on here with us. We'll include both of your contact informations as well for anyone that's interested in directly touching base with you and maybe asking anything. Of course, the report is available on our website that was produced by their team and can give you a very great and insightful data points if that is something that you find of interest to you or you just like to geek out and see those numbers on paper and really understand them more. You can always access that as well onto our westminsterchamber.biz. Again, we are always on here for broadcast Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, with next week being entirely off on our schedule between our legislative tours, coffee kickoff breakfasts, and some other programs and events that we have now that our chamber is kind of going back to somewhat of our normal routine of our programming. Some of our broadcasts may take the back burner, but we will be back on here with you next Friday at 11 a.m. So I do want to thank both of our guests for being here. I want to thank each and every one of you that watch this, whether you do so right now and you were with us live or you do watch it later. Make it your part to also share this message out so others in your network can learn this information as well, whether they're peers or other business owners that may find this of value you. We want them to know about not only the data, but all these great programs that are at those workforce centers and things that you can take advantage of and get your business not only back to pre-pandemic, but even better than that. So on that note, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your Fridays, weekends, and I will hopefully see you, Caitlin and Lee, sometime in the near future. And to everyone else, I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.